California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association.
It was a historic day. January the 31st, 1971. The launch of Apollo 14 on what was to be America's third trip to the lunar surface. 3 astronauts made the trip. Alan Shepard and Edgar Mitchell actually walked on the moon, while Stuart Roosa orbited above in the command module. And here's where the story gets real interesting, because astronaut Roosa carried with him on that journey something very few people even knew about. Thousands of tiny items he chose to take into space with him in his personal kit. And today, decades later, many of these small items, which Roosa took with him into space and back, are here in California and are fine examples of California's gold. Our adventure begins in El Dorado County, about 45 miles east of Sacramento in Placerville, at the Institute of Forest Genetics, run by the U.S. Forest Service. Now, it was here we began to uncover this little-known and fascinating story, a story linking California to that Apollo 14 moon mission from long ago. The Institute of Forest Genetics, and here to meet us right in front of this beautiful building is...
Good afternoon, Huell. Roger Stutz.
Nice to meet you, sir. I guess the first burning question is, not only for me, but for our viewers, what is the Institute of Forest Genetics?
Well, it's a research facility, part of the U.S. Forest Service, and we're dedicated primarily to improve trees through the use of genetics.
And from the looks of things, because this is old architecture and the whole place kind of has a wonderful feel to it, this place has been here for a while.
Yes, it has. It was started originally in 1925, but these buildings you see before us right now were built in the late 1930s, early 1940s.
Yeah, they got that old-timey feel to them.
Yes.
Looking down here, we drove down the driveway, and this really catches your eye when you come in the place. I thought we were at the United Nations. What's the deal on all the flags from all the different countries?
The flags there represent every country in the world that's had a researcher come and work with us here at this site since 1925.
So over the years, you've had a lot of people from all over the world, and what do they come here to study? Are there problems with the forest of the world that people need to come here to study, and why Placerville? Why here instead of someplace else?
Well, that's an interesting history. The founding father of our institution, a man named James Eddy, looked all over the United States for a facility that would suit his needs. And Placerville is the right elevation and the right climate for that purpose.
And when you're looking for, when you talk about needs, exactly, again, what are we talking about for the needs? What are you studying here?
Well, this arboretum represents an outdoor laboratory. It's a collection of pines of the world, about 95 of them originally, that our researchers could use these trees to do their genetic research on versus going to another country to find those same trees.
So all of these trees, this says Eddy Arboretum, and this is named after the gentleman who started all of it.
That's correct, James G. Eddy.
So every single tree we're looking at is part of the Arboretum, was planted here to study.
That is correct. Every tree here, we know the origin of it. It has a pedigree. So our scientists can use that information to better improve forest trees, because they know if a tree from a low elevation, it doesn't do well here. Same with high elevation trees don't do well here. So we need to know where the origin is.
Lots of hybrid trees here, lots of experimentation. I mean, these beautiful big trees behind us here, every one of them's got name on it, some kind of a nameplate. So these have all been studied over the years.
Yes, they have. They all have their identification on the tree, genus, species, and pedigree number. So we know all about them.
Well, as interesting as the genetics of pine trees and the Forest Service is concerned, that's interesting stuff. But you know that's not why we're here. You know why we're here, don't you?
Yes, I do.
We are here to explore well, we said this place was full of history and full of color and full of interesting things. We also said it's out of this world. So we're here to explore the out of this world part of the Institute of Forest Genetics. This is exciting. We are inside the greenhouse here at the Institute of Forest Genetics, and we have come here to talk about the out of this world part of our story, and it is literally out of this world. Roger, bring us all up to speed on this absolutely fascinating and I think a little known story.
Yes, Huell. Apollo 14 was our third mission to the moon, and each astronaut was allowed to take an item of personal effects. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Roosa, a former Forest Service smoke jumper, chose to take seeds because of his relationship with the U.S. Forest Service. So his seeds went to the moon but did not land on the lunar surface. They merely orbited the moon because he was in the module that orbited.
So wait a minute, this astronaut, and his name again?
Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Roosa.
Used to be with the Forest Service.
That's correct.
So he cared about things like seeds and reforestation and all of that sort of thing.
Yes, he did.
So when he went up and was circling the moon back in
1971,
that was Apollo 14.
That's correct.
He took with him as a personal possession seeds.
That's correct.
How many seeds and what kind of seeds?
Well, he took about 6 different species of seeds, 2 of which we provided from this institution, and the others from the Gulfport, Mississippi institution.
And how many? What was the total of seeds he took?
About 6,000, as I understand
You're
it.
kidding.
Mm-mm.
So he carried 6,000 little seeds with him into space.
Yes.
Circled the moon, came back. And then what happened to all these seeds?
Well, NASA returned the seeds to this institution, and we germinated them into seedlings.
The seeds from space.
Seeds from space, correct.
And you were here. You're an old man.
I was privileged to be here in 1971, yes.
You were here when they brought those seeds back from space.
That's correct.
So what happened? Was there a lot of excitement in the air when these seeds were delivered back here?
No. It was a very hush-hush, top-secret affair.
You're kidding.
Only 2 staff members even knew about it.
Why was it hush-hush?
We feared, this is known after the fact, of course, we feared that if the word got out too soon, we'd be inundated with people wanting to see the moon tree.
Okay. So what happened with these hush-hush seeds that were brought here?
Well, they were started in this very greenhouse in this very area. And here's an example of how we start seeds. These seedlings here are only about 2 months old.
Are these seeds?
These are seeds that were actually sown into the container. I'll take one off for you. So that seed was placed into the soil, and when the seedling germinated, the first thing that comes up is the seed.
So these are little seedlings.
That's correct.
Like the ones that you worked on.
Yes.
So how many seedlings did you grow up like this here?
Well, NASA only returned a few seeds to us, so we generated about 35 seedlings from the coast redwood. Then after that, we did a different technique called vegetative propagation, and I can show you that.
Okay, so you had and there were seeds being germinated on the other coast too, as well, from the same moonwalk.
That's correct. In Gulfport, Mississippi, seeds of different species were sent there because of their compatibility with the environment in Gulfport, Mississippi.
So you had the western seeds and Mississippi had the eastern seeds.
That's correct, yes.
And what happened to these seeds after you grew them up?
Well, we generated quite a number of seedlings, but the demand was too great to satisfy that need, so we did some propagation to make additional or clones. And then for the 1976 bicentennial, seedlings were sent to every state in the Union, plus many foreign countries, for outplanting as part of the bicentennial.
To plant moon
trees.
Correct.
That's the nickname that they got, and a catchy name it was.
Yes, it is. Moon trees was very popular, and we were, in fact, inundated with requests for moon trees.
How did you decide who got a moon tree and who didn't?
Well, as you might expect, it became political.
Uh-oh.
So the chief of the Forest Service had a lot of say in the matter, who's going to get trees. And it was kind of a touchy thing at times because everyone didn't get what they wanted.
But they were distributed all over the country. Every state got at least one. All over the world.
Yes, they went
you
around the world.
You probably have one in your backyard.
I do not, I'm sad to say. And I'm also sad to say that this institution did not get one seedling to plant on our own property.
You were so busy growing them and sending them out all over the world that you forgot to plant one right here at the Institute.
It wasn't an afterthought, we just didn't have any.
Yeah.
They're all gone.
But you have corrected that situation.
Yes, I have.
The moon tree story has yet another chapter, and it just keeps getting better because here we are right here. What are we looking at, Roger?
We're looking at rooted cuttings from a moon tree. These are called vegetative propagation. We do that right here in the same greenhouse. It's a very simple procedure. We take a cutting off a tree, dip the cut into rooting hormone, and place it into a container. These benches behind me here.
So wait a minute, you went to an existing, one of the original moon trees.
Yes.
And did a cutting. All these came from one tree.
All from one tree.
And these are going to be planted here at the Institute.
We hope
so
that.
You're going to have your own moon trees.
We're finally going to have our own trees here.
But now, is this a moon tree once removed? Or is the fact that it's the same genetic material keeps it pure?
It is a clone. It is genetically identical to the tree it came from.
Okay.
In all respects. So
what are you holding in your hand?
Well, what I'm showing you here is when we do this propagation, there is a root. So this material here, once it strikes root, this small root going down, the little brown guy.
There's a little root there.
That's what happens.
And this is what you would plant?
Well, we try to get them larger before we outplant them. This is too small to go out.
But this will get larger.
Yes, it will.
And then you're going to plant these here on the grounds.
Yes.
And have your own little grove, your own little stand.
Finally, after
trees.
40 years, we'll have our own.
See, I think this is, was it a big deal back then when people got the moon trees and they were planted and a state decided where they were going to put their moon tree and all of that sort of thing?
Well, it's always a ceremony. It's usually with Arbor Day or the bicentennial, but it was usually with some pomp and circumstance to have this moon tree planted as a dedication.
And back then, you probably had in attendance people from NASA, people from the Forest Service, local dignitaries and politicians. The astronaut himself probably went to some of them, didn't he?
I understand he did. I had never met Lieutenant Colonel Roosa, but I understand from the literature that he did attend some dedications.
And he has since passed away.
Yes, he died in 1994. His son still is active in the moon tree business, and that is to say he represents his father.
What do you mean the moon tree business?
Well, at the various locations around the country where the tree is planted, they may have him come in to just to speak to
rededicate,
yes,
and
school classroom type thing.
Yeah, bring people up to speed on this important but mostly forgotten chapter from 1976, because the space shot went up in 71.
Correct.
And most of the big moon tree activity was around our bicentennial in 1976.
Yes.
So it's been 30 years or more since any attention has been brought to the moon trees.
Right, right.
And the question would obviously be, how are the moon trees in California doing? Because we had a number of moon trees planted, didn't we, in California?
A number were planted around California. It is not known full well how many are surviving or even where they are.
Yeah, because during the years, this whole thing, some of the things fell through the cracks of history. We don't even know for sure where all the moon trees are, do we?
But we can search for them, though.
We're going to search for them, because don't be offended. As nice as this is, as nice as this cutting is here, and as nice as the seeds are that you've shown me today, I want to see an actual original moon tree. And we have found one. It's not far from here. And we're going to visit it right now. Get ready. We're going to go see a moon tree.
Okay, we have done it. We have come to the city of Sacramento, to our state capital. We are walking on the grounds of Capitol Park, which is 40 acres surrounding the Capitol building itself. Over 800 very historic trees in this park surrounding the state capitol, but none of them are any more historic or significant than this tree right here. There's the tree right there, and I guess everybody's figured out by now that's a moon tree. And if they hadn't figured it out already, here's the sign that's labels it, says Coastal Redwood, NASA, Apollo 14, 1971, moon trees. So Roger, this is one of those original moon trees that you helped grow back in 1975, 76 from Apollo 14.
That's correct, and it's doing quite well, if I might add.
Well, it is. Now, how big would it have been when it was planted here in 1976?
Probably around 2 feet tall.
So it was just this tall?
Just a sapling, yes.
So is this about the way coastal redwood grows? And it's been 30 years. This is a big tree.
Well, this would be typical growth, I think, for a tree at this location. On the coast, where they grow naturally, it would be much larger than this.
Really? Just
yes.
Because of the amount of moisture in the air? And,
that's correct.
And all of that sort
yes.
of thing. But by looking at it, it looks like a healthy, good coastal redwood, 30-year-old coastal redwood tree.
I would agree. It looks very healthy.
By the way, why was there interest? Did people think that they might look or grow differently because the seeds had been? What was all the big hubbub about bringing seeds back from the moon in the first place?
Well, you have to realize the times. In the early 70s, it wasn't understood if weightless conditions would affect seeds. So this disproved any theories that it may, because it obviously is no difference whatsoever.
So none of these moon trees look any different or have any different type of genetic makeup or have grown in any kind of a different way?
They're very normal, as were our astronauts when they came back. It didn't affect them either.
But nobody knew back then.
No one knew that.
So it was a valid experiment. It was an interesting idea at the time.
Yes, it was.
But there's a wrinkle to this tree. There is a big wrinkle to this tree. Les, that's your cue to come on in here. Introduce yourself to everybody.
How you doing? I'm Les Strike, Park Operations Manager here at the State Capitol.
You're in charge of this beautiful Capitol Park, which is one of the prettiest parks in California.
Absolutely.
We're standing here in front of, what do they call this section right here?
That's the South Pavilion entrance.
The entrance.
Yes.
Which
exit.
was built for security reasons.
Yes, exactly.
It's an addition to the Capitol, and it was built right up close to this moon tree. Look, he's already laughing.
Yeah.
Why are you smiling? Tell us the story, Les.
Well, actually, this tree was almost removed. During one of our final meetings concerning the foundation of this building here, it was discovered that the root system on this tree was going to interfere with the foundation. Therefore, the decision was made that we're going to remove this tree. Just prior to the meeting that we were ending, a gentleman in the corner raised his hand and mentioned, "Oh, by the way, isn't that the moon tree?" And that sort of put the meeting into a different direction.
That brought a hush to the room.
You could have heard a pin drop.
Because what? Nobody knew about the moon tree, or nobody realized this was the moon tree, or both?
Both. Basically, Jim DeJournay, who was the landscape architect at the time, knew of the moon tree, but he really wasn't positive on which tree it was. So we did a rather extensive investigation, and Richard Searcy, who was the landscape architect prior to Jim becoming the landscape architect, came back and walked right up to it and identified it.
Remembered.
He remembered exactly where
from when it was planted.
Exactly.
But you see, it had fallen through the cracks.
Exactly, as many of them did.
That's what I was going to say. And I asked you for pictures of the moon trees being grown at your facility at the Institute. No pictures taken.
There are none. There are no pictures.
No pictures.
None.
And no pictures of this tree being planted, and actually no record of it.
No, absolutely not. It was just sort of lost in time.
So it had fallen through the cracks.
Absolutely.
This is a new label you've got on it over here. You did that for us. Before then, there was nothing even here to identify it as the moon tree.
Yeah, this is one of the greatest finds that we've found in the park in many years. Trust me.
And I have a feeling that the old moon tree is going to stay here.
Absolutely. It's going to be a treasure.
Well, it is a treasure. Isn't this interesting, though,
It's a great
Roger?
story, but I think it also lends itself to the secrecy surrounding these trees.
Yeah.
It wasn't publicized to protect them.
What do you mean to protect
If this 2-foot tall seedling would have been a big sign like that saying moon tree,
Uh-huh.
you can bet there've been someone that will take a cutting off of it or dig the whole thing up and take it home.
Absolutely.
Really?
Yes.
So that there was a method to this reason for not...
Absolutely. Richard, one of his comments was that they did intentionally not put signage on there for fear of either vandalism or souvenir hunters.
Wow. Well, you don't have to worry about... This tree is here to stay. Nobody's going to
Absolutely.
dig it up and take it away.
It's not going nowhere.
That is amazing. Well, this is one now we can give away where the others are, because on the internet, I looked it all up. This one's not on the internet. You're not on the internet yet.
Not yet.
When you Google moon tree, Sacramento does not come up.
Not as of yet.
But it does have one in Monterey, one in San Luis Obispo, a couple in Berkeley, and a couple in Arcata up at Humboldt State. Those are the moon trees in California today, along with this one.
Yes, the ones that are known.
Yeah.
What do you mean that are known?
Well, I'm sure there are many trees that were scattered around the state that no one knows about.
You're kidding.
No.
That were planted, but no one knows where they are.
As this one was sort of lost because of staff changes, you can see how that could happen anywhere.
Well, it was important when it was done in the 70s. It made a statement then. It has a lingering statement to make.
Yes.
An enduring statement to
Yes.
make. This beautiful moon tree right here right by the Capitol building, been here for 30 years, and according to Les, it could be here another 2,000 years.
Absolutely.
The old moon tree is alive and well here on Capitol Park, right up by the Capitol building, since 1976. You know, visiting that moon tree next to our state capitol in Sacramento got my moon tree juices flowing. I wanted to see some more. So next, we traveled way up on our state's northern coast to the campus of Humboldt State University in Arcata, where I'd heard there were several moon trees planted together. And after some nosing around, I found them. More original moon trees. Trees which ended up being a total surprise to today's students. We found a student. You're up here from Ventura County.
Yes.
You walk this way every day to class? Mm-hmm. Come over here. I want to show you something over here. Do you know anything about these trees right here?
No.
You know what
They're
kind of-
redwoods,
they're
of course. I know
redwoods.
they're redwoods.
Do you know where they came from?
I think they've been here for a while.
They have. They were planted here. But these are moon trees.
What's a moon tree?
The seeds for these trees circled the moon with an American astronaut in the early 70s.
Wow.
And
That's
then they
amazing.
were planted here.
Wow. Well, thank you for that great piece of information.
From now on, when you walk by, let's go over and touch it. Your name is?
Krista.
Krista and I are touching a moon tree.
Awesome.
Another student, your name is?
My name is Marcelino Gale, sir.
Okay, you're a student here. You walk right by here every day, right?
I actually
Going
walk
to
by
and from class.
5 days a week, yes I do.
Okay. You walk right by these trees. See these beautiful big trees up here?
Yes I do.
You know anything about them?
Actually, I'm not too sure. They're probably what's left from when they started developing the school around here.
You think they go back that far?
Not too far. They probably planted them after they started developing, at least by the 1920s.
They
No?
were planted in the 70s, and you know what they are?
They're moon trees.
They're moon trees. Oh, and the significance of that?
The seeds for these trees went around the moon in a module with an astronaut, and they came back and planted them here on your campus.
I was not aware of that.
And what do you think about that? Do you think that's cool?
That is very that has a lot of essence.
Here's a lady who walked over to us and said what?
They planted these trees the year I went to school here at Humboldt State, and now I teach here.
You're dating yourself.
I am indeed.
A lot of people have forgotten or just don't know that these are moon trees.
I tell my students every semester, because this is one of my classrooms, as we look out the window, do you know these trees have been to the moon? And of course they look at me like I'm from the moon because they wouldn't be able to fit in the spaceship. No, but they took the seeds to the moon and brought them back and planted them the year that I started school here as a student.
Was it a bigger deal back then that these trees were called moon trees?
Yes, it was. We were very proud of our moon trees. And we kept waiting for them to die because we weren't sure what was going to happen because of the atmospheric changes and the pressure changes.
It was all very mysterious
yes.
and kind of exciting. These seeds had been up to the moon and come back.
And come back.
And did everybody feel good on the campus that they...
Oh, we were very proud. We were extremely proud because, as you know, our campus is very environmentally active. One of the things that we're very proud of is our sustainability practices in forestry and working with the local industries. And so knowing more about the redwoods was our goal at the time. And now when I tell my students, they're somewhat unimpressed.
See, this just shows our age.
I know.
Because I'm excited that they've been to the moon.
I still am
I remember how excited everybody was about Americans going to the moon
and back. Yeah, and now it's a thing of the past. We don't spend our budget on it, and I'm not sure that that's such a good idea.
Yeah. So there you have it. A wonderful story connecting a former astronaut and trees. A little-known story about almost forgotten trees. Trees planted from seeds that circled the moon years ago and are still alive and growing and part of our state's and our nation's history. Moon trees, which are still today very much a part of California's gold.
Beautiful day to land at Morrow. Right on the money. That's beautiful. Right out the window, just like it should be. There's Houston, your go for landing. Right on schedule now. One by Cone Crater, right outside to my right.
It's all about the moon trees. And if you'd like to go on this moon tree adventure again, share it with family or friends, or more importantly, donate a copy to your local school or library. It's available on video cassette and on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll send it to you right away.